No, in this picture, there's like hair coming out right there. It's funny.
Well, this
Did it work
has
this time?
been a little difficult.
Oh, it is. It worked. It worked.
Yes, finally. Okay, we are back, everybody.
Wait, we're actually live?
Yes.
Amazing.
I have to
Hi.
double check everything, but thank you guys for coming over to my channel. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Hopefully the extra mic and sound quality was worth it because it was a mess to be able to get this all set up. But I'm glad it's working, and I'm excited for another evening with Eskel, number 53. I want to think if I said that right. 54, sorry.
54.
Yeah, 54. We've been going at this consistently for well over a year now. This is awesome. And I'm really excited for today. Of course, we mentioned that we got Calvin Wayman with us. It's been so fun getting to know him, hearing his story, and all of the great things that he's accomplished, such as he's been on multiple huge YouTube channels. He's been able to tell his story in so many ways that has inspired other people. He's also written a few books. You're an author. That's really cool.
None of this actually, surprisingly enough.
You got a donation from guess who?
Denise?
Denise.
Woo! Heck yeah.
You guys
Let me
are
get it
so
pulled up.
nice.
Yeah, this is
So
always so
sweet.
fun. Such a supportive group of people.
Thank
It's
you,
awesome.
Denise.
Um,
Do you have memberships for your channel or no?
no. I do have Patreon, so if you want to see more exclusive content, go over there. That's always fun. Basically, I'm going to get feedback from you on how the membership thing goes, and if it does well, I'll set up memberships on mine. I think that'd be
I
awesome.
just started on mine. You got another
Yeah.
donation.
Amanda's the guinea pig? Is that what you
Yes.
just said?
Well, she's the brave one, I would say that. She is always the one that's first trying everything out, seeing how it goes, and then she teaches me everything about it.
He learns from my
It's great.
mistakes,
Oh yeah, it's
which
the
are
best.
plentiful.
But
Hi, Mary.
Ooh, Mary already too? I can't on too long. I have to sleep. My dad coming home from the hospital on Tuesday. Yeah, sorry. We definitely took longer going live. I was trying to be all like on time and like have it all set up and ready by the time she finished hers. But there's always technical difficulties. So thanks for bearing with me.
Yeah, hope your dad's doing okay, Mary. It's good to see you, though.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Oh. Sorry,
Did
what?
we explain, just in case there's anyone new on your channel, who Calvin is? Or
Yeah, we were just going to go back. Calvin Wayman, he's from a similar polygamous group as the Kingston group, but your group goes by The Work.
The
right?
work of Jesus Christ and to shorten it, for the work. It's actually very similar to the FLDS. It was the same church as the FLDS once upon a time, and then it split off and literally lived like was headquartered like 5 minutes down the road from Colorado City. In fact, a lot of the members from the work still lived in Colorado City, where the FLDS Warren Jeff's church was. But yeah, similar beliefs, almost identical, but just not as extreme and just different leadership.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more, like we dive really deep on that. We shared briefly on Amanda's channel a lot more about that as well on her live. And we both have interviewed him. So in the next coming week, we're going to have videos coming out really diving deep into the similarities of his polygamous group as our polygamous group and just breaking that all down. But for this, we're going to talk a little bit more about his accomplishments, some of the great things that he's learned throughout that progression of leaving the group that he comes from. Starting with the book. We mentioned briefly that you've written a book. There's 2 books, right? What are those?
So the first book is Fish Out of Water. So Fish Out of Water is just a book about really anyone that's going after something new.
Nice.
And I really wanted to highlight this time period of what it like. People just did this with New Year's resolutions. As soon as you go after a New Year's resolution, it feels exciting at first, but then you hit this wall like 2 weeks later, and you hit what I call the fish out of water stage. But you hit it because you feel like you're out of your element, and you are. But the tragedy is most people, when they hit the fish out of water stage where they feel out of their element, they end up reverting back to their old ways, old habits, and therefore they don't hit the breakthrough. So it's a book just about there's goal setting, it's personal development, it's very short, but it's about this is normal, it's okay to hit this fish out of water stage, and then this is how you get through that stage to create a new standard for your life. Yeah.
I love that. I can tell just from having conversations with you, you've taken a lot of your life experiences and they're like golden nuggets that you've gotten throughout your life, and you've really been able to share those in a way that can help others to make it through hard times and to really learn those same lessons that you've learned.
Right. Yeah.
Life,
Like
right?
they're like tested things. I'm like, oh, I did this. This worked.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I love that, and it's got him so many places. Like, I loved watching your video on, dang it, the name's spacing
Anthony
me.
Padilla.
Anthony Padilla's YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is huge, and you got on it. Like, that blew my mind.
Did you link that down below for anyone to watch? I thought that was a really good interview.
Yeah, the links are in yours right now. I'm just going to copy and paste it over as soon as it's over. But I've had too many technical difficulties. I didn't mess with that yet. But as soon as this live is over, I'll go and add those down below. But yeah, that's why I think it's really cool to be able to see that you've already been an author. You've been able to really inspire a lot of people with your story. And I think that's awesome. And then what about you like to challenge yourself too? I've watched some of your TikToks. What is the that challenge with the marathons that you've done?
Yeah, so I think it's probably having grown up in the environment that I grew up in, and then coming to this awakening that awakening's a loaded word. I just realized I don't love that word. It's not like I have not arrived. I'm not there. But when you come to awareness of certain things, one of the things is like you could do way more than you realized. And so I like to be like, well, what are my actual limitations? And honestly, too, like I'm a human being, so I struggle with, self-doubt in big ways sometimes. I've sometimes struggle with like depression and that sort of thing. And so really that's a couple months ago, I was like, it felt really loud. So I was like, I need to do something major that just reminds me that I can do hard things and that I can be bigger than my self-doubt, so to speak. So yeah, so I ran, the challenge was, can I run 2 marathons, not one, but 2 in one day with no training. Most of it in the dark, in the mountains in Provo without any cell phone service.
Dang.
Alone?
That's crazy.
Not alone.
Oh, I was going to say, that would
No.
be dangerous.
Well, most of it, you end up running alone, but it was like a race.
A group? Okay.
I joined a race in a group, but a lot of it is you have like a headlamp. It's on my YouTube channel, actually. There's like
really? Okay.
of the whole journey of like, here I am. I'm going to see if I can run more than 50 miles in a day with no training.
Nice. I think that is so cool. One thing I think that I just love is that when people leave a controlled environment and they are finally given this like newfound freedom, then they just do so many cool things with that, and that really inspires me. I love it.
Yeah, because one thing I've realized is like I just lived a whole life in that religion. I could have lived my whole existence in that religion, and it's like, okay, I'm not in it. What am I gonna do now?
I love the title on one of your videos where you said, I started my life over at 30 years old. Because that is so intense.
Yeah,
oh
I did.
Gosh.
Like, I'm a baby. I'm like 5 years old right now in this new life. I'm 5 years old,
Dang.
And I feel like that sometimes, for real. Like, flying never gets old. I see people bored looking out the airplane. I'm like, guys, we're a primate. Once upon a time, we looked up in the sky and we saw birds and we're like, I want to do that. And now we do it better than them. We hijacked their technology and we're like it's insane. Like, you guys are going to go visit your sister probably on a plane, right?
Oh, yeah,
and
exactly.
like that stuff, like, people get upset that their plane's late for 30 minutes. Like, so you have to wait 30 minutes to do the impossible? Like, that's crazy. So, yeah, I think that's one of the benefits, actually, of growing up in a cult that I wouldn't have had if I didn't.
A newfound appreciation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like,
so true.
I think people take advantage of...
Take for granted.
Take for granted, yes. And I even noticed myself doing it now, being out for so long, being like, wait a minute, even just 9 years ago, this wouldn't even be possible if I wouldn't have made the changes that I made. So I need to be grateful for what I have right now.
So that's what I'm trying to do with anything I do, like the experiences I'm having, the places and countries I'm living, and the personal challenges. Like this was a fun, creative thing, my second book. But it was also a challenge. Could I write a children's story?
What sparked that, though, for you? Why did you all of a sudden want to do that?
A couple reasons. Something I always wanted to do. Like the idea, because I love Dr. Seuss. That's why I have a Dr. Seuss book over there too.
Nice.
And so I liked the idea of rhyme, a story with rhyme, and then also, what really sparked it was the separation, like the divorce, because
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that on my
Yeah.
channel. He was married in
an
the
arranged
group.
marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and I
That
knew,
is so crazy.
and I knew that I I wasn't going to be there every single day with my kids, but I still wanted something like the thing I wanted my daughter to know, like whether like when she's 4 or 14 or 44, is that her dad loves her.
Mm-hmm.
And so this book that was truly inspired with her in mind,
Yeah.
a lesson that I want her to keep with her throughout her whole life, to try things, mistakes are a-okay, like to remember that's really what did it. So I really had that push, that purpose of like, it's for her. And so that helped me get through like the hard times of trying to make whatever the story was going to be, the rhymes and all that stuff.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome. I want to say really quick, thank you, Jen, for the $10 donation. That is huge. Thank you. We got a lot of people commenting. I'm sorry if we don't get through all of them, but we will try to read through a few of them as we go. And we, instead of trying to, I want to try not to reiterate too much. And so a few of the things that I want to get your unique perspective on that we might have touched on a little bit, but some of the like dangers from your point of view of a cult, why you think that kind of the mindset and environment that they set up can be dangerous, and how it can be even applicable to really anything, not just cults themselves, but how a lot of the times, even in like abusive relationships or other things throughout our lives, can seem similar. And
Yeah.
so just kind of like, I want to talk a little bit about those red flags and stuff like that. But starting with first, what do you think are some of the dangers of the cult lifestyle and just kind of like the environment that they set up?
Yeah.
What's your unique perspective on that?
I think the core detriment, like there's a lot that's like, oh, there's this psychological stuff, there's this abuse stuff. I think at its core, the core danger is a loss of autonomy of who you are as an individual. Would you agree with that in your own cult? Like that your ideas are trying to be formed to fit like the group, and that you're not safe being your own unique individual self.
Yeah, and I think they do that to control you because they're trying to
Totally.
make you something that you're not actually.
Well, when the motto is "Don't question," like it's just follow blindly. Then you when you're
Then
trying to be yourself.
who even are you? If the aspect of
Exactly.
who you are is the choices that you make, that you come to the conclusion are right, but you're not even doing that, you're just taking their word for it.
Yeah, and the reality is that this is the path, and it's the same path for every single person. And questioning is natural. That's how you find out who you are. But because they question, then you're scolded and reprimanded, and that keeps you on the path of the same exact path as everyone else, and makes you actually feel guilty. And I went through this when I first left. I felt guilty for curiously questioning myself.
And going off the path that was perfectly laid, because it's such an intoxicating idea that to know exactly where we came from, exactly why we're here, and this perfect plan of where
Right.
we're going, right?
And there is fear in, I think you went through the same thing, right? When you leave and you have to break down and rebuild everything that you've ever known, there's comfort in staying in the cult and just
Totally.
thinking that you know everything, right?
It's incredibly uncomfortable to do the opposite, to like
Oh,
break
yeah.
it down and like, what do I want to keep? What do I want to discard?
Weren't you saying that was probably like one of the hardest things you had to do was
The single hardest. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times when you leave a traumatic or cult-like environment or a bad relationship, it's like people look in that as the challenging time, and it certainly was at different points, like the control, the lack of thoughts. But the hands down the most challenging experience of my life was leaving my religion, because it's not just leaving a religion, like it's changing your entire social circle. It's it's betting on an entirely different set of beliefs and philosophies. It's like, actually, I'm calling bluff that I'm not special just because of the color of my skin. I'm calling bluff on this whole idea of this concept of priesthood and like just living a whole different life. Like I have leaving is kind of like Harry Potter in reverse. Like it's like if you were born with all these powers and a wizard and everything,
think you're in
and you
Hogwarts.
realize I'm not in Hogwarts. It's all fake, and I'm actually a Muggle. And it's hard to come up to that, and then realize that I'm nothing special. What more? I mean, I am, and that's cool too to see like everybody is, and they have their unique thing. But I'm not better than you or anybody else down the street. Like that.
You need to step off of a pedestal sometimes that the cult has put you on.
Yeah, and then honestly, just the shock, the social shock of the people that you once lived with. You don't have that connection. And then also just the psychological shock of that your reality is reorienting. It really is. Like the way you see the world is the same. Like the person that I am now, I literally have two different lives. Like super conservative. I still have some, but now I'm way more liberal than at least than how I grew up. You know, the political beliefs, the religious beliefs, the way I problem solve, it's completely different being out versus in.
That's one thing that I love sharing with people because sometimes it's easy to overlook the fact that when we're leaving a cult, we are literally starting from ground zero. Our whole belief system changes, and we have to start figuring out what we want to have as like our moral beliefs, what we're going to start as our right and wrong, because we were basing all of that off of what these leaders were telling us beforehand, never questioning it, never creating this foundation of our own. But now that we're leaving, we're just starting that. And so that's why I think of that restarting your life over is something I can relate to quite a bit.
And one thing I would say is, would I ever trade it? No, not that. Like there have been times where I've been low and like, what if I would have never been born in a cult? That would have been great. However, the perspective that I feel like I've gained and I'm still gaining with that deconstruction thing of like something that I actually believe in or that is mine, and discarding stuff that's just nonsensical. I don't think a lot of people get to have that. Like, because we get to sift through all of it.
Exactly.
And see, this is cool or that's culty, whether it's in a religion or in a yoga studio. Like you can see like like you get to see it and taste it and notice it and like get to find the pieces that are actually yours. So I'm grateful for the deconstruction at this stage.
That's why I think this conversation can be truly valuable for anyone, whether you come from a cult or not, just to look around you and notice some of those red flags or things that are even similar in any way. Even if you're in an environment that may not be culty at all, just being able to analyze it and see those red flags can be helpful. It really can. And so I love talking about that. And so I guess a few of those, if we can all think of a few to share, I think that could be really beneficial. Because I love sharing about how, comparing it to like either I don't want to say abusive relationship, but any type of relationship that could be maybe toxic or harmful to you. And one thing that's similar in those, or in a lot of ways, to cults, is the fact that if they don't encourage or if they are like shunning creativity or like experimentation, because when you're able to, in essence, step outside of the environment that you're in or whatever the situation you're in and be able to look at it from an outside perspective, that can be so refreshing and so helpful for you to see it from a view that's not like in hindsight, that's not like just disregarding a lot of perspectives and things like that. And so when the people around you are basically building up these walls around you or trying to keep you from other perspectives or other ideas, then that is a major red flag that there is something wrong.
And I definitely had that in mind.
Exactly.
Sure you guys did too, like only books that you can read. Like don't go out because, it's why I had to convince my dad and grandfather that I could go to college, because it's like you're going to get ideas in an unapproved source.
Yeah, and you even said, I loved how you said, if you're not in a toxic relationship or in a cult or whatever, stepping outside should always be a good thing. Because you mentioned that you thought when you were going to go to college, if people made you question, you would realize that it was still true because you would see all the perspectives.
If it was true, then I shouldn't be threatened by it because I should be able to go out and come back and realize, this is the truth.
Yeah, and this is something I feel like I have repeatedly said to my own siblings or some of my friends from the order, telling them that if you really are so confident that it's true and it can never be like wrong, then you should be able to step outside of that curtain or go beyond those walls that they're setting up around you and be able to learn and take the information from around you, and it should point to that being the truth, that being the only one true kingdom of God on earth.
Yeah.
But if you're not even willing to do that, how can you confidently say, yep, this is the place and there's no other place, you know? It just blows my mind.
Yeah, the truth is undefeated, and it should be, it does not fear questioned. Like, they should be questioned, and like, test ideas and see what stands.
Oh, you got it.
Wow, Christina Fisher, thank you so
Heck
much.
yeah.
They keep getting bigger and
$20.
bigger, man. That is awesome.
This is so cool.
Oh, I think Christina, I think I just got a gift in my P.O Box from you. Was it her? I'm pretty sure it was her. I just checked it.
Oh man,
She's so
that's so
sweet.
cool.
Wow. But yeah, I agree.
You guys rock.
Oh, yeah.
They're so sweet.
That's so fun.
I agree with what you're saying though with the whole like I say this so many times in my videos, how can you even have a testimony without questioning? How can you really even truly believe in something without questioning it? But they really just discourage you from questioning. And I would say that in the order too, I used to be like, well, how if the order is so true, I could go to the Mormon church and then I would realize even it would further prove that the order is true. Would it not?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But our dad would always be like, well, when you get married, you can ask your husband if and obviously that's how they get you to stay. Like when you get married and you're stuck having kids here, then you can go look around when you can't leave.
Well, what I loved about you, Amanda, in particular, is I remember you questioning, our dad and the other people, and you would have such good questions for them that I think even they would be like, let's put it on the shelf, kind of like they didn't even know what to do about it.
Dad's answers a lot of the time were, well, in this Bible, this is the King James version, which is edited. People mess with this Bible, so the true teachings is in this other.
So while you were in it, you were like inquisitive.
I was
him.
showing them
she
verses.
is the rare one that inside would like fight them and like question
Really?
things. Yeah.
That's why I had a really bad reputation.
Yeah,
towards
but
the
that's
end.
why to the people that also wanted to question, you were an inspiration because they saw you doing and asking the questions they wanted to ask but were too afraid. So that's why I think it's so cool that you were willing to do that.
I didn't
and basically stand up
understand
to
why
them.
they were so afraid until after I did it, and then I was like, oh, that's why.
Innocent questioning.
Yeah, some of the times me seeing how you got treated made me more afraid even, But it also taught me to be like more careful and like plan my escape more and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was beneficial. It did not go to waste, that's for sure. So it was definitely
That's
valuable.
good. Hi, Kevin. Kevin's here.
Okay, some new people are joining, asking who's the new guy. This is Calvin Wayman. He's from another polygamous group called The Works, right?
Yes.
And it's a breakup of the FLDS. I was going to ask, is Timpson the first leader of that?
There's only been one prophet?
Well,
or one
basically second, because the two leaders that were part of the FLDS that got kicked off the stand, essentially, was a guy named Alma Timpson and J.M. Hammond. John Timpson is Alma Timpson's son. So he's like the son of the first leader.
How do they decide the next leadership? Just pass it down?
No, it's all by order of when they were ordained to be an apostle. So he ordained.
Oh, you guys have apostles like the LDS church?
Yeah. So the whole council are called apostles.
Oh, that's something we don't have the word apostle. We didn't even have sacrament for a long time. Did you guys have sacrament?
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah. I think they do sacrament now in the order.
Yeah,
they
they started
when I was
it
there.
after we left. Mm-hmm.
Temples and sacrament, like that's what was weird. It was like, how come we don't have any of those things when isn't Joseph Smith a big on that?
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys have like special temple rooms?
No, nothing.
Did you face the temple?
We faced the holy spot, which was north and bountiful.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. We faced the Salt Lake Temple wherever we prayed.
Really?
Wow.
Even though like that was with the whole nother religion? And
No,
everything?
because it's really ours.
Oh yeah, that's something that our church would say too.
Yeah,
we're gonna
really
take
ours.
it one day.
And when Jesus came back and set everything in order, we were gonna get our churches back, or our temples back, and everything.
Wow.
But we didn't even build it.
Yeah, we did.
Well, they think they did because they think
did.
that Joseph Smith was theirs.
Yeah,
like
we think
line.
everything was ours, and then it got taken.
Okay.
Because the LDS Church apostatized, and it's really ours.
Did you guys have So one time I went on this like Sunday school trip, and we went and looked at the temple for our girls class, and our teacher was saying, yeah, the temple used to be white, and then when they stopped living polygamy, it turned gray. See how the bricks
I
are
remember
gray?
that story.
I remember being like, oh my gosh, the work is true. This is all true. Praise
Whoa, Christina Fisher, another $20. Please give this to Matt. Oh, that's just yours.
Let's not read that.
No, that's still nice. She's giving us both $20.
Did she tell if she was the one that sent me the gift? I'm pretty sure it was from her, and I really appreciate
In the P.O
that.
Box? You said so?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
If it was you, Christina, which I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% it was you. Thank you so much for it.
Do
I'm gonna go look at the note again. And
Do you open your packages on Patreon so they can like see it and stuff?
No, because sometimes
you can't.
But sometimes I don't know, because I was given a gift one time where I would have been so embarrassed if I would have opened it on
What
Patreon.
was it?
What? Why doesn't it's Patreon though? I opened Flickerface's gift on
'Cause I
Patreon,
look
and that was
so-
embarrassing.
Really?
Did you blush?
Yeah.
Would you have blushed on camera?
No, yes. Yes, I would. Here's the thing, I recorded it and I was gonna post the whole video, but then when I found out what the thing, I didn't even know what it was when I was looking at it. I was like, what is this?
Has like these rabbit ears? What is this?
Yeah. And then I was really glad I didn't live stream it. Because remember, Rachel was there. Were you? Maybe you weren't there.
Not for this
Rachel
one.
was
but-
there, and then she was like super embarrassed afterwards. So it was a funny flicker fade. No, if you're from the Patreon, you know what I'm talking about. Go subscribe.
Oh yeah, go check out our Patrons. They're
You
so
may or
fun.
may not see me open packages due to some trauma. Just kidding.
I opened all of my packages so far on Patreon, so I love it. Even Denise sent me this big old package with all of these Asian snacks and candies, and I've got
That's so
Amanda.
cool.
Yeah, Amanda and I opened them on video and like
Tasted
taste
them,
tested them and
yeah.
like shared our thoughts and everything. And that one will be up in just a few days, so that was a lot of
Heck
fun.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. You guys have great ideas. Anytime you guys suggest fun things like that, I love doing them. So keep it up.
What
It's
kind
great.
of content are you gonna be in like your future on your YouTube gonna be posting?
Yeah.
A couple things. So, I want to document more of these things that I would be doing anyway. Like, if I could have had, like, so I have this, like, the whole 50-mile thing, that's one thing. But then the whole comedy journey, I actually documented that. Where I'm like, can I go from nobody to doing stand-up comedy and getting paid? So I just have so much footage, I don't even know how to edit that. So challenges of like, can I do this? I want to do content like that. And then on YouTube / also on the Cultured Podcast, I want to really get into the nuance of what makes the individual believe or think a certain way. Because right now we're talking about kind of the external thing, like this is what the order believes, this is what the work believes, this is the manipulative thing. But a big part of my journey was when I really went inward and was like, okay, I believe in the work, I believe that the church is true, I believe that I'm here. Why?
And then there was nothing that made sense to back it up.
Well, there wasn't anything that's for really true, but I did believe it. So why? There was a reason somewhere. And I found other things that I think are quite universal, like such as like there's this thing called confirmation bias. You know, that once you learn what you know and somebody says it's true, it's incredibly painful to go against something that disconfirms that, because it's breaking down your whole view of reality. And so just those things of like, I'm probably believing this because everybody in my circle believes this. Whoa, that's an interesting thought experiment, because I used to tell myself I believed it because it was true. But if it's actually just because that's what I'm in, what if I was born in Asia? If I'm born in Asia and I believe this is true, then I would still believe in this, right? But based on thought experiments and thought, like, no. How come nobody's in Asia is like obviously coming to this, right? And so I would try to put myself psychologically on neutral footing and be like, would I choose this? And it was obviously no. And so just trying to really unravel the things that make us believe the things that we believe, even if it's nonsensical. Because there are people that believe the earth is flat, and there's reasons that are making them think that, and believe in other things. And so I'm curious about that. So I wanna explore that deeper and Cultured. And I also like I like challenging my own. Like people hear of culture shock. I love culture shock. It's such a fun feeling for me. And I think this happens all the time throughout culture where once you learn about something, you're like, isn't that weird? I like to explore the weird. So I want to do more of that, where I'm bringing people on from different corners of society that you might think are like, that's why I like Anthony's channel, honestly, Anthony Padilla, is because he brings on a bunch of different kinds of people, and it just broadens your view, and you're like, oh, the world's a lot bigger, there's a lot more views than I realize. And so, yeah, I really want to explore different thoughts and ideas and
I like that.
find the good parts of cults.
Nice. I love that. I
But you're
love.
not. Just kidding.
No.
Case closed.
That's one thing I love about Calvin. He's one of the first ones that I've heard just be like, okay, let me share with you all of the things that I love about culture, the things that have been beneficial, right?
There's a reason they
You know?
last. There's a reason.
Yeah.
And
If they were all bad, then no one would be in it. You know?
absolutely. And in fact, I
Complete
think it's
bad.
a lot. I think that's a misconception. And I think that honestly doesn't make it easier. It makes it trickier. It's the reason it can perpetuate, because there's so much of the day-to-day community goods, like happiness stuff, that covers up all this other stuff that is
Right.
obviously wrong.
It makes me think of, even in the order, they would always say, the devil will tell you 10 truths to just slide in one lie. And it's like,
Oh,
that's
man, I
exactly
haven't
what
heard
the
that
order's
for
doing.
years.
You know what's interesting is I feel like all these cults have that in common, where they say what the bad things are, but they're doing them. But they think by them
Isn't that
saying
funny?
it,
Yeah.
then you're not going to expect them to be doing it.
Yeah,
It's
and
so
so
weird.
in my religion, they very much talked about like being controlled by the government and stuff like that. But the government is just a body of authority over you. But they're doing that. Like,
Exactly.
they're controlling you.
And the order is
dress,
hardcore
and it's
like
worse. It's worse. Instead of the government saying how you should believe or whatever, like dress like this, otherwise you're shamed. You know, think or
But
believe like
but
this.
they don't want the government to be telling them to do that, but they're gladly going to do that. They're following
Yeah,
orders.
at least in the government, you can vote out your officials, and in like a cultish organization, like you're kind of stuck with them.
Yeah.
Like
If you're
Get with
wanting
the-
them to change, then you get out.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting idea? Because I remember in the order them saying when there's a new leader, everyone has to supposedly vote on that next prophet or leader. But it's like, there is no voting. There's no way.
Yeah, I
like
don't think-
they,
it just
that's
gets
just something they
passed
say,
down.
and
Yeah.
it's just
Denise
oh, man.
donated, so I want
Again?
to.
Ooh.
Yeah, and she's like, confirmation
Denise.
bias is why Amanda thinks this is what we talked about on Patreon. I do think this is so random, but I was laughing at it, and I wanted to just bring it up. Do you guys think that this is so random? Two people who are on TV and they're playing a couple on TV,
Okay.
that there is, because in my opinion was that there is no way that they don't feel a connection. That's why a lot of the time they end up dating
Together, basically.
And then I was basically, my point was like, I don't think I would be okay with my partner kissing some other person on TV, depending on the amount of money they're getting from it. But Denise's point was, she was like,
What
she
did
100%.
Denise say?
She was like, confirmation bias is why Amanda thinks all movie actors in love movies hook up. I didn't say they hook up, but I said it's hard to just like completely not feel a connection to someone, especially when you're playing that role.
I could definitely play the devil's advocate in that, though, because even though I would agree that when two people are playing a role, I would assume a lot of the times they pick those two people because of maybe their similar
Their chemistry
chemistry,
maybe
and
that
they
is
get
what
along,
it is.
and so it might be more likely that they do end up liking each other. But if you're already married, if you're already committed, I think you could put on a face and pretend to like somebody else, or you know, to actually believe in a cult or something, or whatever you're putting on a face for, and not actually be, I don't know,
we
falling in
could
love
do a
with that
whole
person.
episode on just
I know.
relationships and dating.
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that.
So would you be okay with your girlfriend or wife going on TV and like being in love with another person on camera and kissing them and
If it was
a big
all
question.
an act, sure, yeah. If I started, I would want to be so confident with my relationship with that girl, that if she was doing that, I wouldn't be jealous and be like, they can't touch you.
I respect that.
Yeah. So I would hope that I could handle that. But
Yeah, maybe it's an is it an insecurity thing?
Yeah, it could be, but also know what you want, and that's okay.
Yeah. Because there is a reason why you see like Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper played that scene in those scenes in A Star Is Born. All of a sudden he breaks up with Irina. I was like closely following that. I was like,
did they become an item?
Not that we know of, but there was paparazzi talk of it. But I almost wonder if that's why they broke up so
But
shortly.
here's the thing,
That's
though.
cult
Think of
thinking.
this, though,
Don't-
Amanda.
Like, here's the thing. I gotta point something out. Like, here's something that cult thinking does. I call it the big leap. They're so good at, or the big jump, like where they're like, this thing happened, therefore this, and I hope this doesn't feel like too big of a roast on you because I don't mean it to be. But
no, feel free. You can roast us.
I can
bad
roast
as you
Amanda.
want.
This
Okay.
is Eskel's channel. You're allowed.
Okay, it's Eskel's channel. You're like, you're not coming on my channel anymore. But like, here's an example of a big jump. One of my church leaders says, when I was in church one day, I put my head up and I saw a man, and in my head I said, he's going to be one of the apostles someday. And I knew better than to have thoughts like that. Therefore, it was God. Like,
I don't do that.
I know.
That is
You
a
see
huge
here's the thing,
leap.
like your brain's like, I knew better than to have thoughts of who should be a
I
counselor.
think it's more of. Let me just say what I think it is. It's more of a I feel this way, so they must feel that way.
Yeah.
Let me counter that then, though, because if you're saying that the love of your life, the person you're with, if them holding hands with another girl is going to make them leave you, then I wouldn't even want to be with them. If that's
what a
all
great
it
point,
takes
Eskel.
for them to
That
leave
is
me,
such a solid
then
point.
leave, man.
That is
Then
such.
there's the door.
Exactly.
That is such a solid point. That is a healthy view.
Yeah,
Like,
that is good. Thank you for bringing
thank
this
you.
up, Denise. Thank
no,
you for
dating
airing
and
my dirty
relationship.
laundry.
Like, this is something else I want to do on my show. I want to talk about dating and relationships so much on my content because, dude, like I can't believe I almost went my entire life never doing anything, like never dating, never.
Because you didn't date before you got married, right?
Zero.
You went straight to marriage.
Zero.
Woo!
Like I just lived all of my 20s the last 3 years. It's been fantastic.
Wow.
And challenging and horrible and heartbreaking, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Wait, so was your first kiss on your wedding day?
Mm-hmm.
That's the order too. First kiss on your wedding day. Could you hold hands when you're engaged? All of that or no?
Not supposed to, but we did. I was a rebel.
Ooh.
Wow, that's crazy to think about, like how nerve-wracking the wedding day would be when you are in your 20s and you've never been able to even be allowed.
Yeah, I was sitting with the priesthood council while I was sitting next to her, and we were like touching, and hey, you're not married yet, like it was almost like
keep space for the spirit between you two.
Exactly. Keep space for it.
They did a thing at they probably didn't do dances at yours, huh?
They did actually.
Oh, they did.
Except there was a split off between if dances were appropriate or not. So the main part, most of the Centennial thought that dances were great. Wayman's, where I come from, my family thought they weren't good because it was a Gentile act to like dancing and doing stuff with the opposite sex.
You guys didn't even have holidays, huh? You guys were
no
strict.
birthdays, no Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. And the uniform. Let's talk about that for a second.
The what?
The uniform you guys wore. They would go swimming in long sleeve shirts and the women in full length dresses and swimming
You gotta
around.
stay covered, you know?
Even if they even went swimming at all, though, because what did you say about water in the group?
Oh, what? This wasn't a thing in yours, huh?
No, this is way different, man.
So in my church, we were taught that water was controlled by the devil.
But you get baptized in water.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
There you go, using critical thinking.
Doesn't make any sense.
How do they pull
Why
it
didn't
off?
I think of that? Yeah, you're baptized in water. You live in I know that you came from water also, like in evolutionary terms, but they wouldn't have believed that. And you literally needed to survive. Like you are baptized in water. So it has to be protected water. This is what they would have said. Water that has been blessed and like priested, whatever is fine. But anything public water or the ocean is like no.
Can they come and like bless someone's swimming pool? Qualified to swim?
Yeah, but then they'd probably go even further and say, yeah, it can be blessed for like baptism and like church stuff, but not like playing.
not monogamous things.
Yeah, not monogamous things.
And that's so funny. Monogamy was a bad word.
Yeah,
there.
it was a bad word. If you wanted to criticize something, you called it monogamous. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was my dad's cut word. We talked about that on Eskel's podcast.
Yeah,
right?
that was wild.
Yeah, it was a curse word. Like, especially like, because all of the siblings were the siblings. Did we mention I have 44 siblings?
Yeah,
I don't know if
44
in this
siblings,
one,
you guys.
but-
So I have
Oh,
44 siblings.
so
And
crazy.
so in the same house, and we were all considered like the same sibling. Like, I didn't know about the concept of half sibling till way later because that's not how I was raised. We were all siblings from different
Yeah,
moms,
that is
but the same siblings.
fascinating.
However, it was if you went and did something with any other sibling that wasn't from your mom, that was good. But if you were caught, like what you guys are doing, has been part of my deconstruction since leaving because your guys' relationship would be taboo in my upbringing.
Why?
Because you're from the same mom and dad, and so you being as close as you are is monogamous.
So that would be a bad thing then?
Yes, because you are supposed to be just as close to all of your siblings, even if they weren't from your same mom.
Yeah. They would
Wow.
kind of say, like, I would call them my half siblings, and then they would be like, you don't cut your sibling in half, do you? And I was like, oh, well, these ones I do.
Wish
Well,
I
I mean, it was always different because it wasn't necessarily that I was like, oh, I'm only going to like my direct siblings and not those. Because I had really close relationships
Yeah.
with a lot of my half siblings. And I would like, there's a lot more guys that I would hang out with from my other families. And it was fun and we had great relationships. But I think just the fact that maybe we only had our family living under the same
Yeah.
roof. Your family, all the wives, all the kids from every wife was in the same house. That
so
would be so
if you were being
different.
too nice to your own family, they'd be like, hey, hey, hey.
Totally. And this
Wow.
is fucked. This is part of the thing that as I've done therapy and journaled about this, it's like I'm finding some of this in the recesses of my brain that's like, that was bad. Like, it was bad to have a favorite of any sibling or anything. So what it creates is this like equally shallow
Relationships with all of them.
Yeah. And I'm a lot closer
How
now.
are you supposed to have deep, meaningful relationships with 44 siblings?
Well, you
Yeah.
can't. It's impossible.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm super close with a couple of my sisters now since leaving. But that could have never happened in it. And if you did, it was like, what are you doing? That's monogamous. Like it
That's so
wasn't nice
crazy.
to get up to buy some popsicles and show up and share with a couple people. It's like because you're being shamed to make jealousy. And jealousy is like no go. And to me, my view on jealousy now is like it's normal, and if you feel it, talk about it, work
And
it through.
also, it says in the Bible that God is a jealous God. I brought that up all the time in the
Exactly.
Word when they say jealousy is of the devil. It says right here, God is a jealous God.
He's
so
the only one that gets to be jealous because he's God, right?
There's always an answer for everything.
Yeah. So, so if you were gonna bring popsicles for all the kids, not just a couple.
That's why they never brought popsicles.
And now you wonder why. And now you wonder why we never did Christmas. Like that's what it really
yeah,
is.
that
Like,
would be
that's,
great. Who would you get a gift for? You
Like
can't get
what? Like
just a few.
when a single decision can help your
44.
entire annual budget for the year.
That's true.
Just a single decision. No, we just don't believe in Christmas or birthdays. So what does that say?
Sucks to be you.
No, that's like such a cost-saving strategy. Yeah.
Did they at least celebrate like their anniversaries with their wives, or okay?
Yeah.
So
They
had
go to a
some
dinner.
celebration.
Yeah.
Did you notice favoritism amongst the wives?
With my dad,
Yeah.
my siblings and I would like guess. Like we always felt that my dad definitely had favoritism towards the youngest wife.
Because my theory was, and I've said this a lot on my channel, there's always a favorite. Sometimes it moves around on who they're
There
mad
has to
at.
be.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Because our dad, like, there was always rumors that it was our mom. And our mom was like, and then it was like if she got to go on vacations, then what about the other wife would get upset, you know? But
Yeah.
it was also like, sometimes favoritism would move around if my mom was being too, like, annoying, then he would just go to the other wife's house. type of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Like earlier today, we've had really cool conversations. Like Amanda's my favorite, but right now Eskel with his attitude, like relationships, that's a view I agree with. And so now Eskel's my
Okay.
favorite. So
There
it
you
moves
go.
around.
That's awesome.
It
Let's
goes
keep
around.
it that way, okay?
I was like, and we're ending it there. Thanks for coming.
Nice. No, I love it. Let me just read Cammie's comments really quick because
Oh, yeah,
I
Cammie's
always,
here.
I love having
That's our
Cammie on
older
here.
sister.
I
nice.
am trying to have her be in more of my videos. Just a couple weeks ago, she was in one of mine, and I was in one of her podcasts. So, let's see what she says real quick. She says, I have the exact opinion, Eskel. If someone is able to leave that easy, then I would want them to have the chance as early on as possible. LOL, bye-bye. Hello,
Yes,
Melanie,
yes,
Kevin,
yes.
and Denise. Oh, she's saying hi to all of you. But yeah, she's agreeing, like, with those relationships. And I talked with Cammie, and Cammie is, our oldest sibling. And so she's given us lots of dating advice, lots of advice to, like, just help us cope with life, basically. And in the podcast, you'll kind of see that with her and I. We go back and forth a ton. Feel free, you can read any of them.
Did you link her podcast down below? Or?
I don't have any links yet. I'm going to go through it as soon as I end this because of technical difficulties. I'll fix it, though. But yeah, her podcast is great.
Somebody said water is controlled by Poseidon, and I love that comment.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
Poseidon.
well, just a sec. I'm reading Percy Jackson right now, so I just learned about
that
Poseidon.
is such a
That's
good
such
book,
a
too.
funny comment.
Nice. But anyways, yeah, podcasts are great. Cammie's is just barely taking off. She's got like 3 or 4 episodes, and Amanda's been in one of them. I've finally been in one now, too. And yeah, you have a podcast, too. All of you guys have podcasts.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
we're
been
gonna-
slacking a
huge.
little bit on my podcast, but the next episode on the podcast that's coming out is either going to be this interview that we just did, I might just do the full 2 hours on the podcast.
I would, because yeah, you guys don't want to miss anything. It was amazing. I was literally behind the camera doing the whole 2 hours, and I was like so zoned in, listening to everything. It was great. I
Yeah,
loved
you
it.
got to actually like hear it all.
It was so hard not to want to jump in and add to the conversation.
We're going to need
and
to do an
stuff.
episode that has us 3.
Oh yeah,
In
that would
one-
be so fun.
In one
Mhm.
podcast.
We
yeah.
got to get just the mic set up so it can be good sound quality and
Oh,
just
I already
like
got
keep
it.
going.
I mean, I got the
Yeah?
mic's right there, yeah.
Sweet. Okay, well, stay tuned for that. That should come up soon. That'd be awesome. Oh,
I guess I have one more question on that whole thing where if your spouse is gonna be an actor, blah blah blah. So,
Okay, let's go back.
Seriously,
let's
I love
reopen
this.
this
Like-
wound, you guys.
so if your spouse is like, oh, I got offered this job where I'm gonna be making out with this boy, and I'm gonna take it. That wouldn't make you be, hey.
Okay, Amanda, here's what it is. At the end of the day, all relationships are about one thing: agreements.
Okay.
So it depends, like, did you enter this agreement knowing that this is what you can expect? I'm going to be in roles that's going to be X, Y, and Z. Like, one thing that I've, like, learned since leaving is there's no one way. I know people that are poly, that are open, bi, gay, straight. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the people that are on board get to have a say and that they're on board with it, you know? So I think that's what it is. Like,
Here's my
what-
thought,
what-
because this might be kind of come off as funny, but this is exactly what I thought. I guarantee you, if she had to kiss a boy every single day, it would be a job. Having to do that all the time, that would get so annoying, I feel like.
I did bring this up on Patreon. Actually, I was like, okay, yeah, if they were getting $1 million and we got to share that wealth, like, yeah, baby, go do it. But if they're like, oh, I'm paying for this, but it'll pay off later. I'm paying to be in this scene. You know, it's different.
That's questionable. And
Motivations
here's the
behind
thing.
it.
to me,
Oh,
it's
man.
like it's so hard to say, like, because the only thing you're saying is what you're clearly communicating what matters to you, and what I'm hearing is what matters to Amanda is like clear exclusivity,
And money.
clear boundaries, and money. You're willing to like blur the lines, honey, as long as there's money involved.
That
Cover
only
my eyes.
happens when,
No.
because I feel like we're still young, we're still like broke basically. I feel like once we're more
Speak for yourself.
established, it'll be, money is just so like, it comes and goes. It's so different, and it's like, even to define what's a lot of money versus a little bit of money, it's so different depending on the part of life that you're in.
Amanda, do you
And
feel like
so-
do you feel like you know exactly what, or do you feel like you're still kind of discovering?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
even know who I am.
Yeah.
That's why these
Yeah,
discussions
see,
are
that's
so
cool too.
good.
Like, yeah, because that's cool too. Like
And
wait,
that- yeah.
do I? Because that actually makes me jealous. Like, I think that's cool.
And
to,
I
like,
don't
talk
like
it
to
out.
say like, oh, it's because I'm a jealous person, because I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think that's what it is. But that is also what triggered my questions about polygamy at a young age, because the thought of my guy.
Well,
being
there's
with
a
my
difference
sister,
between jealousy and equality, you know? It's clear when someone's doing it only from one perspective, only seeing it from the guy's viewpoint, or not even giving the woman, like, a say, you know?
Right. Polygamy is definitely very...
guy-sided.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, if it's freedom of choice, what polygamist do you know is not doing it for their salvation? You know? What polygamist is doing it solely because they're having a good time and, you know, I'm choosing to be loyal to him while he cheats.
Oh, yeah.
You know
I can
what
almost guarantee even every order member I know would only do it because of what rewards they supposedly will get in the next life. But if you ask them if it was for no reward, I don't think there's a single person that would be like, oh, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the guys, I'm sure, but the girls, no way.
I asked a girl in the order, I was like, so why would we have to live polygamy to get into heaven? Is there not any, because her point was, there are certain things we have to go through in this life to gain our ticket to salvation. I was like, so the only way for us as women is to live polygamy to gain that ticket, to go through that hardship. How's the man going through that same hardship? How is the man going through those things?
There you go.
And she was like,
Way
well, it's something that we're going to understand till we're on the other side.
No, oh, man.
We can say that about anything then. Really, I can make up anything. If you're going on those ground rules, Paul Kingston can say literally anything, and you just have to follow.
See, what you just said is what really intrigues me, is like noticing the ground rules, notice the thinking behind that, and you realize, well, okay, look how that, if I apply that thinking somewhere else, like it just blows up. Like I could just go start anything and be like, this is the truth, this is the way.
Yeah.
You have to pay me $1 million and you get to go into heaven. And like, how do I know that's going to be, well, just wait till you die, you know?
It'll all make sense when you...
Yeah.
But pay up.
Cammie's got a good point to add to this too. She says, haha, Amanda, I would be all for my partner making out in a job type role because it would give a great opportunity for us to see how strong our relationship actually is.
And he would learn certain techniques, perhaps, in that kiss that he needs to bring back home.
Oh, Cammie says more. She says, it also matters how they bring it up. Are they saying they will do it no matter your opinion, or they will drop it off if it's not okay with you?
Totally.
Because your relationship is worth more than money. There you go.
Baby.
See, that is huge because, like, when you are able to sit down and talk about it, I love the idea of that nothing is off the table. In the order, it was always so worrying of what I can talk about, what I can question, what can be said. Whereas now on the outside, I can talk about whatever I want. There's no limit to my imagination, my creativity. And if I might happen to have a negative or a toxic way of thinking, I would hope the person that loves and cares about me would be willing to talk with me about it and share their viewpoint so I can learn and grow. But if they just get upset and angry at me and then I feel like I can't ever talk about that stuff with them again, that's not going to help. It's not going to go anywhere.
And here's the thing on the relationship, since we're still there, is like in the order and in the work and other things, is like the reason this could also feel weird is like there's one way. Men and women or man and many women, and it's like it's for this, and this. Like there's this rigidity to it. And it's not like what you're saying where it's like everything's out on the table. It's about agreements and boundaries and decide and get with those that respect those and want the same types of agreements and boundaries. And like, it's very fascinating how diverse the world of relationships is and can be.
Yeah, I love learning about that. And I think this is something we mentioned on our interview too, but I think it's way more important to know why someone is doing what they're doing than what it is that they're doing. And that's something I've learned a lot.
Understanding. When people would ask my advice when I was married, the number one key is communication, but now it's the number one is understanding. Understanding each other.
Because you can talk all day and not get anywhere.
And that's the thing is like, I don't know. Also, like being able to understand each other helps you to be able to, like that, come to an agreement. Be able to, you know, because if you're not going to see their side, you're not going to see their side. I'm right, you're wrong, you know. If you're not understanding, you're just communicating, then there's literally no point.
What do you mean by, what's the difference between communicating and understanding from your view?
I can communicate to you in a different language and you're not going to understand.
No, here's my translation of that. When someone is just talking your ear off, then it's just one-way conversations rather than open communication.
Talking at you, not to you.
Exactly.
That was a style that was very common in my marriage. It was talking at you, not to you.
There's some of these things that we hear that I think it's important to like break them down because sometimes we forget what they mean. Like, communication is important, but communication is a two-way street. Like, it does have listening and understanding, and if it's just talking, it's not being communicated, right? And so people can just like, hey, I'm trying to communicate with you, and you're like, take what I say because I'm right. Like that's not communication.
That's not. It's just telling someone. So, in your opinion, when you were married, I kind of am curious now. Like, what was your like motto then versus now?
What do you mean?
Like for me, when I was married, I was like communication. Now I'm like understanding.
Oh, well, isn't that similar? Understanding's part of communication, no?
Yeah, but it's almost like a higher level of communication because you can yell at someone and that's communicating, but that's not a good form of communication.
Using your words, first of all, the very best thing from my marriage was the fact that we communicated well and understood each other.
So you guys really did get along then.
Oh yeah.
But it was just the line was drawn when you left. Like there was absolutely no way.
And the line was drawn when who I was becoming was not what she signed up for.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because she married someone who wanted to have the priesthood and move up in this kingdom.
Yeah, and it just became very clear that we wanted very different things. So at the time, I didn't even call it a divorce. I called it like conscious uncoupled. Like we're doing this thoughtfully. I want the best for you. You want the best for me.
That's really cool that you guys were able to be like mature about it and realize you guys' differences and all that.
Yeah, in fact, I think in some ways it's harder because good is the enemy of great is a quote I like. If something's okay, then it can stop you from getting something.
Progressing,
from getting something fantastic. And it wasn't that we had toxic communication. That's not what separated us. It was realizing that we want very different things. But where the breakdown was, here is the main difference though. Like it got to the point where I wasn't safe being who I was. So the understanding was surface from my viewpoint. Actually being seen who I actually am was not there.
Right.
And so I agree with that actually. Really, because you really need to see the person, understand where they're coming from, and kind of be able to step in their shoes and be like, okay, yeah, I see that. I agree. I feel you, essentially. I got that. Before you even can take the next step, which is like asking questions or what about this? What if we did this? And then coming up with some sort of agreement.
And we were talking about this earlier. A big thing that I was saying, I don't believe everyone is made for marriage. I don't believe everyone's ready for marriage. Everyone, you know what I mean? Especially I wasn't. When I was 18, no, I shouldn't have been doing that. But I did it anyways. The point is, what I would say to ask yourself is if you're not capable of putting yourself into someone else's shoes, if you have a really hard time with that, do not get married because you need to be able to understand and put yourself in someone else's shoes, especially because as a human being in a relationship, we want that so much. So how can we expect them to do that for us, but we're not willing to do it for
Since
them?
we're getting on that advice kick, I gotta just give one. Like what somebody else feels, there needs to, even though you're together, it doesn't necessarily have to be, think that this is a key thing, like that you're wrong. Like somebody could feel something that is very different than how you feel, and that can still be validated. And I think it's important to acknowledge both of those, because sometimes, especially when you have contention or disagreements, it's because somebody says, I felt this way, and it's like, well, why did you? Like, I didn't mean this way. But it's like, those are separate things. Like, you just made me think of it like stepping in other people's shoes. It's like, realize that we're two human beings, and like be able to sit in somebody's hurt, confusion, jealousy, pain, and that doesn't take from me.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody feeling a certain way does not mean that I'm a bad person. And when you realize it's not personal like that, then you can be there for your person and work with them and then work on your stuff. Like, I don't know. I love
that. Is
feelings
so
are valid.
valuable,
Everyone is valid to their own feelings. It doesn't mean like, I'm right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. But,
I think that's so important. Honestly, I feel like if more people could realize that and go about their relationships with that in mind, it could help so many people.
I love that we just turned this into the cult guys talking about relationships. This is fantastic.
Well, I feel like you always mentioned, we have a unique perspective. So I think if anyone takes away anything from this, it's just to be able to like look outside the box and see it from new perspectives and to help you.
I am not by any means saying like I know I'm divorced, okay? But I'm saying what I learned in that, and like like a lot of people think, oh, you're divorced in your 20s, like well, that shows a lot on you. I would do it all over again because I learned so much from that. Same with how you're saying like in the cult experience, like Like, I used to go through that same thing, like, I wish I was never born here, God must have hated me to put me here, blah, blah, blah. But I would not be the person I am today if I didn't experience everything that I experienced to get me here.
Exactly.
But, that being said, if I ended up staying and living the life that I see a lot of my not friends anymore, right, because they don't talk to me anymore, but the people that I was friends with at the time, I don't know that I would have wanted to be born.
I have a strange question. So, besides the understanding thing, what's been one of your favorite things that you've gotten out of divorce? Like one of the most useful, impactful things that you're like, okay, this thing that I learned, maybe it was painful or whatever, but this is something that I can take with me on any relationship or just something on life.
Ooh,
is there anything?
that's a good question.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, is there anything that's like, I learned something from this experience? Because you just already said that you do it again.
Exactly. In the same way that, just like how I mentioned to people, I love learning from Amanda's mistakes when she's making videos and doing new things online. You might as well learn from them. So what is something
Is
from
there something about your
marriage?
divorce or marriage that even if it wasn't pretty, like maybe you learned like I matter and my view matters, like prioritizing myself, something that had you not, because we talked a little bit off air about like moments when you realized, wait, I'm not being treated the way I should be treated, and stuff like that. Like that can be like something that's like.
I think a big thing was self-realization and realizing that I wasn't, like the breaking point of finally realizing that it was my marriage was I told the story on my divorce video where I basically was scolded for being me. Mm-hmm. Like I said a cuss, right? And a lot of people in the order are like, oh, Amanda got a divorce because she wanted to swear. I mean, they can believe whatever they want, but the reality was that in that moment I realized I'm not allowed to even venture out and get to know who this person is.
You can't even have freedom of speech. You can't express
and
yourself.
And the sad thing is, I didn't even know that I didn't know myself for that long, and it was scary.
So you have that now. See, that's a cool.
Not saying I know myself completely, but I'm allowed to experience and
that it's okay. Like that's a huge takeaway. It's okay to be this bumbling baby elephant human, like that's learning and figuring stuff out, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. And even just being allowed to make mistakes, I think that's so valuable.
Mistakes are A-okay.
And I will say this, like there was a point before my divorce where I was like, you can't be friends with your exes, you gotta hate all your exes, da da da. I'm really proud of how I handled the divorce because I ended up in this place where I'm at peace. Like I would have stayed friends with him. I don't like having anger or hate towards anyone.
Yeah, that's something I really admired about you, is that I was seeing on his end him like being angry and upset and like wanting to like take advantage of you, but you were so like cool and headed and not upset, and you were just very mature about it.
There
and
are
that inspired
times
me.
though where I was like, why is he being so frustrating? Like why can't we just live and let live? Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, like if you're holding resentment, that's still controlling you. It's a form of control that you're letting them have. You're allowing them to have.
Such an important realization.
But I didn't see that before. Like before, I was like, "Ow, slash your tires." But in reality, that's letting them control.
But also,
Totally.
that was when you were young
So-
too. You were married so young, and that was a little more of your personality. But you've grown past that, and I think that's so cool. That's something
What helped
hopefully
you
I can
realize
learn.
this therapy?
I did a lot of therapy, and I did a lot of, I think, self-reflecting and just really being like, why do I got to this point where I looked in the mirror and I would cry because I didn't even know who was looking back at me. It was like scary to be in that place, and I was afraid of myself because I didn't know what I was capable of. It was a freaky feeling, but I've learned, when you get to that point, it's exciting because then there's up. You go up after that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it because it was like the first really big monumental since like leaving the order.
Yeah.
So now every time I go through this scary place, I'm like, oh, well, the good place is coming around the corner.
Wow,
Yes,
that's a
I
really
think-
good way to view it.
I think I have a similar takeaway from the biggest takeaway I think I have from my divorce it wasn't from the divorce, but having gone through that relationship and being where I am now is the deep realization that it's okay to be myself. Like it's okay to be me.
Yeah.
Because being around other people that like they just don't care where you've come from or your past or who you are, but just like you get to know you as like a person, and that's okay. Like I didn't know that back then. Like even though we communicated and she tried to understand me, like there was a part of me that felt guilty for the person I was letting myself evolve into.
Right. I think that, would you agree with this? Most cult mindsets, at least for the followers, is people pleasing. You're so worried about everyone else and their perception.
It's been 3-4 years since the divorce. 3 years since the divorce, and it still happens in layers.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, with even in the last 6 months, it's like, oh, I don't have to go along with that because that's not okay with me.
Yeah.
Boundaries, agreements, and
Right.
then doing what you want to do and find the people that are going to accept that.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that, how it's like, what were you saying? Be yourself loudly, because then you can attract your crowd.
This is a huge thing I've learned in relationships. Like, this is friendships, business
Everything,
partnerships, romantic relationships, especially early on. And this doesn't have to be actually loud, but be fully yourself loudly, because when you are loudly yourself, like, this actually goes to your point earlier where you were saying, like, if somebody had a chance to leave, you'd rather they leave, right? Like, if you're loudly yourself and somebody says, that guy's weird, great. You don't want that person in your life. You want, like, that's fine. That's good. Like, be yourself. Like, be aggressively yourself. and like, let people that resonate with that energy be there and be like, dude, I need that in my life. But then people that are like, ew, it's like, great. So yeah, just be, especially early in a relationship, be as much yourself as you can, because it will attract the people that you want in your life, and it will repel those that probably weren't for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. That is great advice.
Did you tell her thank you?
Oh, we got another donation. Thank you, Jackie Lopez. They say, enjoy more coffee, tea, or snacks. I will. Thank you so much. Oh, those were some powerful words. Yeah, you guys both. This has been a really good live. I hope you guys are listening with intent. And Rachel is here, so I want to read hers really quick.
The whole family's here. Yeah,
Yeah, we got everyone here. Rachel, I want to read her first one. She says, the first one, she said something about relationships. I really want to find, Rachel says, I think mom doesn't even know how much money dad makes because it is so hush-hush. It's wrong for her to even want to know. A relationship should not have to hide anything from the other.
I agree with that, yep.
And it was so sad seeing that with our parents, how it was so much of like this father figure was taking on this woman and just like just controlling her, not working with her. So
it's like she is beneath him and they're not on the same level.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I feel like that because that was modeled for me, not like to blame my parents for everything in my life, but because I saw that so much, it was so natural to fall into that after leaving. And I think that I also, and this is just my opinion, but from knowing, I know a lot of ex-order members. I do the Malibu retreats. I've seen it a lot, and I'm friends with a lot of them. I keep in touch with a lot of them. Same with FLDS, and I'm AUB, blah, blah, blah. A lot of the times, it's the similar thing they go through. It seems normal seeing their dad be over their mom, so then they go into a relationship that's just like that, sadly. And the cult follows them.
That's one thing that I think is just so crazy, is when you just see repetitive behaviors and lifestyles and habits just going over and over again. And that happens so often in cults. I feel like so many times
it's
people
expected,
are afraid.
I think. I actually think it's expected. I'm not surprised by it. I think it's actually more common than not. And so, if you don't really deconstruct it, that's why it's not just, you can't just black and white jump out of something, because it's like, if you just leave it like, oh, this relationship was toxic, and you don't comb through it, you're just going to end up in another one.
Yep, exactly. And then the problem is, a lot of people are like, well, why did these keep happening to me? And they look outward instead of inward, as to be like, I'm the common denominator in all of this. But I you know what I hate is that order people will be so quick to be like, look, she ended up in an abusive relationship. Wow, she leaves the order just to get abused. But it's like, well, obviously that's gonna happen. She
and
came
they don't
from an
realize
abusive
it.
family.
Totally. That's such a good point.
Dang. And it's so they basically try to take all of their responsibility out of it. Like, the cult had nothing to do with it. It's all on them. And it's like, really, they spent the majority of their life being manipulated and raised by these toxic people, and then they happen to go out on their own and find somewhat similar to that.
You know what I cannot stand is when the parents will say, that's my child, look, I did these things for them, and then when the child messes up, they're like, I don't know where they learned that.
Yeah, that's not my kid. Like, oh my God.
And it's so common in the order, and I'm sure in the FLDS, they're like, that is not the Satan. Satan has gotten over you.
And
it's nothing to do with me.
The sad part about that is how quick and easy they are to disown. To just like leave them in the streets and not even care about them. It's like That is really sad.
You almost had like 100 watchers at one point.
Yeah,
Did you
this
like
one
that?
was really big. I loved it.
Yeah.
He had over 100 at one point, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
So,
Good
yeah.
job.
This was awesome. I love it. Having multiple people on, like, there's so many things we've been able to
What
bounce
do
off
these
of
guys
our
think?
ideas.
Do you guys like this? Do you like conversation? Maybe you guys need more conversation.
I do feel maybe I shouldn't mention this. Like, I feel a little bad we didn't get to read too many comments, but like, I still appreciate you guys being a part of the discussion. I love going back and reading everything you guys say about it. With 3 people though, there's just so much I want to get in that
It
we
is
can't
hard
read
to
too
read
many.
all the comments.
But it doesn't mean I don't appreciate you guys. I still
Yeah.
love having all of you guys
We
here. I
probably should
love
have
that
a
you guys
designated
are a part of the
comment reader.
conversation.
I know, we
Something
need to
about it.
hire a comment reader in like the background or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they don't go unread. Like I go back to my videos all the time. I love reading what you guys have to say. I even love when you guys have conversations amongst each other.
Which happens often.
It's
right?
so
And
fun.
a lot of you guys are friends with each other, which makes me so happy.
Oh yeah, it is really cool.
You have a Discord too, right? Where everyone
Yeah,
can talk
if
to
you
each other?
guys want more content like this, and even more like what I do with my Patreon is I basically take any video idea or anything I want to experiment with, and I just put it on there. You know, it's like because I only have like 20 something people on my Patreon, so it's a lot smaller group, and everyone that's there is so supportive and kind and just awesome that I'll just post just about anything. So if you want to just see more deep dives into my life, I even have this dream series on there, lots of fun stuff. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
And then it's also a place for you guys to communicate back and forth to each other on Discord. Because on here, it's so
Exactly.
cool to see that everyone says hi to each other.
Yeah.
But Discord's a good way to, I mean, Instagram too, if you have Instagram, follow each other. But Discord's an easy way to just be in a group chat with everybody.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. It's such a great community. All of you guys are so kind and so nice. I love it. We are getting pretty close to the end, so I do want to mention your comedy show. He also does stand-up comedy, you guys. This guy does just about everything. It's so cool. I love hearing your story.
And you can actually buy a ticket to it. It's April 29th.
April 29th.
And it's going to be in Idaho. I did put a link to it in my video that we just did, the live that we just did with him, but I think you're going to do a link as well.
Yeah. I'll be updating the whole description in this video. I'll try to put as many links in it as I can.
And there's like even a possibility you guys may. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna try really hard to go there. Like,
Yep.
I think we'll both be in town. We'll just do a road trip or
Yeah,
something.
if it works out, definitely I want to go.
That would be really nice.
So,
We should get more information. Do you know like the location and stuff, or?
Boise, Idaho, April 29th. Jack Mormon Comedy Hour is the name.
But is that a comedy club or?
I don't know the name of the comedy club that it's at.
Just roam through the city. We'll find you.
But if you get tickets, I mean, you said there's links under your.
I have the link, under my.
And you probably
allowed
can
nice.
edit the description for the link.
Yeah, I'll copy
He'll
a lot
add
of the
it.
stuff over. So. I think that'll be
Definitely.
really fun. And I think we kind of turned this into a great opportunity. Like, we'll follow up more throughout the weeks coming up to it, but maybe we can have a little meetup there or something, you know? So
Oh
definitely
yeah,
message us, keep in touch.
It's not set in stone for sure if we're gonna go. I really do want to go. So if we can actually buy the tickets and set it up, maybe we could.
But we have a good month, right? So we have a few weeks
a
to,
month.
we'll update you guys,
And
let you guys know.
Yeah, 2 months.
2
Yeah,
months?
2 months
Sweet,
because
yeah.
it's the end of April. And the
So
one thing that
plenty
is
of time.
cool, if anybody's into like culty stuff, it's a bunch of ex-Mormons. So it's a bunch of ex-Mormons that have left their
Are
stuff.
you the only one that's ex?
FLDS.
Okay.
Or I bet ex-fundamentalist, yeah.
Yeah.
But every other performer is an ex-Mormon performer. So.
Yeah, and you, Calvin even described it as 3 years of therapy in one night. So
Yeah.
if you need that therapy, come on down.
Felt
Plenty
so
of time.
good. Speaking around, being around people that are just accepting, yeah, it's good.
That's awesome. And I think comedy is so great. I just love, I mean, some people might think it's odd that we laugh so much at dark humor, but it's like better to laugh than to cry.
It's a
So
coping
come and laugh with
mechanism.
us, you
Yeah.
guys. It's
Laugh
so
about
much
our
better.
trauma.
Awesome. Well, I think this was great. Thank you guys so much, and hope to see you all in the next one.
Yes, see you guys.
Thanks for having you on, Calvin. This was awesome.